we're getting these live images that are coming in, these official photographs from inside the G20 summit. Here's a nice picture of Prime Minister Modi and President Biden. This is inside the ante-room to the conference hall where the G20 is actually taking place. In fact, a number of images have just come in. We'll just circle through them in a moment. The Prime Minister with all of those leaders. There's that beautiful picture of the Prime Minister hugging the President of the African Union. Prime Minister with Joe Biden, the President of the United States. In a short while from now, remember, there will be a break from the One Earth ceremony, the One Earth plenary session of the G20, following which there will be a break for meetings post-lunch, where the big bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, will take place. He will also be holding bilaterals with the leaders of Japan and Germany, Olaf Scholz and Fumio Kishida. I want to go across to India Today's Abhishek Bhalla, National Bureau Chief, who's there. Abhishek, nice stream of official photographs coming in from the inside at the Bharat Mandapam. The Prime Minister with the African Union President, with Joe Biden and others. The One Earth session is still on right now, Abhishek, I assume?
That's right, Shiv. The One Earth session, which was the first session for this morning, is still on. And of course, the big takeaway this morning was that announcement that everybody was waiting for, that African Union is now officially part of the G20, and that's the big takeaway as we speak, Shiv, and this was expected. And just yesterday, in fact, I spoke and exclusively interviewed the president of Comoros, who happens to be the chair for AU, and there was a lot of thrill and excitement in the camp. And while speaking to me, in fact, he said that the entire African continent and especially his nation thank the kind of efforts India and Prime Minister Modi have put to push for their permanent membership. And also when I asked him about the kind of role India can play, considering that China is a major player in Africa, he said absolutely India has a big role to play, be it investments, be it infrastructure development, and in fact they are waiting for Indian investors to reach Africa. So yes, this morning that was the big news break from the G20 summit. Later, of course, in the day, lots of more discussions that are lined up. There is, of course, this big gala dinner later in the evening, and also the bilaterals with the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will have.
Yeah. Okay, we're waiting for that. We're waiting for the Rishi Sunak Prime Minister Modi bilateral. They had a very warm handshake and hug today in front of the Konark Wheel, when the Prime Minister was welcoming all of the G20 leaders. Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, who arrived around early in the evening yesterday, has had quite a hectic schedule. He visited a school. He took Akshata Murthy, his wife, out for dinner in central Delhi as well. So we're going to be looking out for that. The Prime Minister now is in the One Earth session as we speak. I think Gaurav is going to be joining us in just a moment. I think we had some problem with his audio, but we'll try and plug him back in just a moment from now. If I could just pull in our guests now for their expectations from the bilaterals that are coming up. Ambassador Karchu, to you first. These nice images, these are the official photograph images from inside the summit of the Prime Minister with Biden and the others. The next big thing that's happening, the next big visible thing that's happening at the Bharat Mandapam is going to be that big bilateral between the Indian Prime Minister and Prime Minister Sunak. How do you think that's going to look? The free trade agreement, trade, obviously the big issue on the table, sir. How are you looking at it?
I think the Prime Minister of the UK has himself indicated that there are some issues which remain to be resolved, and what we can hope for is that this meeting would energize the negotiators to proceed positively forward to arrive at an engagement. I do believe that the UK needs India at this stage. They need our markets. We, on the other hand, still need the UK. It has technologies that are important for us, though no longer is it in the same league technologically as, say, the United States, but it's still very important in some areas. And lastly, the London city is a very important financial center. So all told, there is a mutuality of interests which can be progressed.
Absolutely. So this is hugely important. There's definitely no underplaying it. Ambassador Sajjanar, would you like to add to that? We'll be going to that story in greater depth in a moment. Gaurav is also back with us. But sir, your views on the Sunak-Modi bilateral that's coming up and whether, something big can actually be achieved.
Yeah, I think there is great symbolism also in this meeting, and I think this symbolism we were able to witness when Prime Minister Rishi Sunak came, and the warmth and the effusive reception that he got from Prime Minister Modi. So I think there is that very strong connect. So people are really looking at getting something. I agree with everything that Vivek has said about what we can expect. I think in addition to that, maybe I could make two additional points. One is as an educational center, the United Kingdom is very significant, very important, and there are increasing number, and now under our national education policy, the new education policy, we can get universities from there to come to India in a big way. The second is that when the United Kingdom was a part of the European Union, basically it was seen as a gateway to Europe. So all our big companies had established offices in the United Kingdom, in London and other places, so that they could get access to Europe, to the European market. So we have a very significant presence there already. And I think that needs to be leveraged to its fullest extent, because now the United Kingdom is no longer a member of the European Union. But still, I think in terms of its relationship, that continues to be strong. Its economy is not doing too well, so it needs India in a very big way. In fact, some of the Indian companies are the biggest job providers in the United Kingdom. It's not any of the other multinationals or UK companies. It is Indian companies. So I think there is a lot going for business as far as the two countries are concerned.
Okay, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister at the fag end of his opening address at the G20, where the media was permitted, made that announcement. Now remember, there had been a great deal of expectation that the Prime Minister was, that this particular G20, the big target, the big mission was going to be the admission of the African Union into the G20 as the 21st permanent member. It had been expected that it would be the final act. It would be announced right at the end. But as Ambassador Karju was indicating, the Prime Minister has announced it right at the start. In many ways, underscoring multiple times that this is an India-led initiative. The G20 is a multilateral forum, but this was an India-led initiative. The admission of the African Union has been talked about for a long time, but it has happened during India's presidency, and the Prime Minister wanted to make sure that India and India's leadership gets the credit for what is seen as a historic step as far as the G20 is concerned. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but the G20 presumably becomes now the G21. I think that's something that we need to emphasize very, very strongly. Abhishek continues to be with us. Gaurav also continues to be with us. Before I go to Gaurav and Abhishek, I want to play out for you that moment, because this is history. On camera, the Prime Minister declaring the AU as the 21st permanent member of the G20. Take a look.
सबका साथ की भावना से ही भारत ने प्रस्ताव रखा था कि अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की स्थायी सदस्यता दी जाए। मेरा विश्वास है कि इस प्रस्ताव पर हम सबकी सहमति है। आप सबकी सहमति से आगे की कार्रवाई शुरू करने से पहले मैं अफ्रीकन यूनियन के अध्यक्ष को G20 के स्थायी सदस्य के रूप में अपना स्थान ग्रहण करने के लिए आमंत्रित करता हूं। Excellency,
absolutely incredible. The sober images, but the significance of them are truly, truly multi-layered, and we're going to decode all of that with our experts and our reporters. Gaurav, quickly coming to you first. We've all been well aware of China's power play, China's initiatives and activities as far as Africa is concerned. We saw it recently in BRICS as well. In light of that, we already know what has happened today is significant, but in light of the aggressive manner in which China has tried to make its presence felt in Africa, and quite effectively at that, how big is this announcement that the Prime Minister has made today?
Shiv, this is an announcement which will have far-reaching consequences for India, for the developing world, and for the world at large. This is where the developing world is on this G20 global high table, African Union being represented. As Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar was also pointing out, 125 leaders were here in India at the Leaders Summit. This is where India heard the voice of the developing world, the global south. This is India's role, the bridge between developing countries and the first world, the global north. Bring them all together, bring them on one platform and find solutions. There was an apprehension China could play a spoiler. You'd recall before US President Joe Biden took off from the United States of America, it was said so in as many words that it is hoped that China will not play a spoiler in India's G20 presidency. And fortunately, at least as of now, China hasn't played a spoiler on this aspect, on Africa. But, do remember, Shiv, Africa is again a new battleground between world powers. Look at how regime changes are happening. Look at how Russia is increasingly playing a bigger role in Africa. Look at how European countries are getting deeply involved in Africa, and how India's traditional friendship, India's civilizational links with Africa, and if I may, from what I've been hearing, resources that come in from cash-rich countries like Japan, like the United States of America, like other countries, their resources, India's clout, and together you ensure that Africa is not exploited by expansionist forces. At least that's the effort. Both the ambassadors on the panel know the subject so much better and can tell us if this is the democratic world's effort to ensure Africa is not exploited the way we were by the East India Company.